Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the hyper-precise world of Caterpillar C175 diesel fuel management. Now, I want to start off with a baseline fact that is really going to change how you look at this engine. No two injectors, even ones fresh off the exact same production line, are perfectly identical. It's kind of wild to think about, right? So let's explore exactly how digital data steps in to dictate physical power and solve that exact problem. So what really happens when 16 quote-unquote identical injectors aren't actually identical? We all tend to assume that perfectly manufactured, mass-produced parts are exactly the same. But honestly, at a microscopic level, that's a total myth. On a massive platform like the C75, ignoring those tiny microscopic variances is a straight-up recipe for engine imbalance. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover the manufacturing variance problem, rate-shaped solenoid injectors, the digital fingerprint, the mandatory upload step, and we'll finish up with verifying fuel system health. Let's get into it. Section 1. The manufacturing variance problem. Think about this for a second. If the engine control module, the ECM, just blindly sends the exact same generic fuel command to all 16 cylinders, it's making a huge assumption. It assumes all 16 injectors will respond exactly the same way. But because of those tiny microscopic differences in nozzle geometry and internal tolerances we just talked about, they absolutely won't. Some are going to deliver a little more fuel, some a little less. And the result? You get uneven peak cylinder pressures, compromised power contribution, and eventually, this can lead to destructive harmonic vibration across the entire engine block. Not good. Moving right along to Section 2, rate-shaped solenoid injectors. Okay, so Caterpillar uses this brilliant engineering solution called rate shaping, and it fundamentally changes combustion. Instead of just dumping all the fuel into the cylinder in one violent, massive blast, rate shaping delivers multiple precisely shaped injection events right within a single power stroke. These small, controlled pulses are a total game changer. They dramatically reduce combustion noise, improve emissions, and really boost overall engine efficiency. Here is how that actually works under the hood. When it's time to fire, the engine ECM zaps the injector solenoid with a current, which physically pulls the control valve upward. This opens the gate, allowing incredibly high-pressure fuel from the common rail to just rush into the cylinder. And the software is in complete control of the duration here, allowing the engine to meet some really intense power demands through that precise rate shaping we just mentioned. All right, Section 3, the digital fingerprint. This is where the hardware meets the software. Every single injector gets its very own totally unique trim file. And this data isn't just floating around in a cloud somewhere, it is physically etched right onto the injector's hold-down clamp as a QR code alongside a 12-digit serial number and a 4-digit confirmation code. It's brilliantly designed because the data physically travels with the part itself. That means the software and the hardware literally can never get mismatched. I absolutely love this analogy. It really hits the nail on the head. Think of a 16-person choir. Even world-class singers have tiny natural quirks in their pitch, right? Well, a good conductor doesn't ignore that. They hand a personalized correction note to each slightly off-pitch singer until the entire choir sounds like one single, unified voice. That trim file? It is literally that personalized correction note just for fuel instead of pitch. It tells the ECM exactly how to tweak its command so that specific injector fires in perfect, balanced harmony with all the others. Which brings us to Section 4, the mandatory upload step. Let me be crystal clear on this point because it is absolutely crucial. When a new injector is installed, that trim file must be uploaded. Zero exceptions, no way around it. This isn't just some optional, nice-to-have maintenance housekeeping. It is a strict, mandatory requirement every single time an injector is replaced, or even if it's just swapped between cylinders. Now, luckily, it's a super quick but vital process. You just record your serial and confirmation codes. You plug in your Caterpillar Electronic Technician Service tool, CAT-ET. Navigate over to the injector trim calibration screen, pick your cylinder, and just enter the code or download the file. Boom! In just a handful of clicks, you've successfully programmed that unique eTrim data into the ECM so it knows exactly what it's dealing with. But if you're in a hurry and you skip this 5-second step, oh man, you are leaving the ECM flying completely blind. It's going to command that brand new injector using a default calibration, or worse, the data from the old injector. You instantly create a cylinder that is running either way too rich or way too lean relative to its neighbors. You totally undermine the entire rate-shaped system. And let me tell you, that mismatch is definitely going to show up later as an unexplained vibration, a weird drop in efficiency, or uneven exhaust temperatures. Just don't skip it. And finally, Section 5, verifying fuel system health.
The beautiful thing about the C175 is that you never have to guess if an injector is actually good or not, and you definitely don't have to tear the whole engine apart to find out. There are two essential, completely non-invasive verification tests you can run. The valve closing time test, which zeroes in on the electrical health of the individual injector's solenoid, and the pressure decay test, which checks the entire reel system for any sneaky leaks after shutdown.
Let's look at the valve closing time test first. When the ECM sweeps the fuel system, it shuts off the current to the injector solenoid. As it does that, the magnetic field inside collapses and the valve physically drops back to its seat. What the ECM does is measure the residual electrical current during that exact collapse. If you see a nice, clean, predictable electrical signature, that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that the internal solenoid is de-energizing correctly and the valve is snapping shut precisely when it's supposed to. Now, as those tiny internal parts naturally wear down over thousands of hours of heavy use, there's actually less mechanical resistance inside the injector. So, weirdly enough, the valve actually closes faster over time. The ECM is constantly measuring this shorter closing time. Through a really clever feature called adaptive trim, the ECM uses that original uploaded trim file as its baseline, recognizes the internal wear, and automatically compensates for it by slightly increasing the injection duration. This keeps your engine's performance completely level, even as parts age. I always think it helps to look at these two tests like a routine doctor's checkup. That valve closing time test we just talked about, that is exactly like a doctor tapping your knee with a little hammer to check a reflex. It's an immediate, lightning-fast test of one single component's electrical and mechanical response. But having a perfect knee reflex doesn't mean your whole body is perfectly healthy, right? That's where the pressure decay test comes in. It's much more like checking how well a sealed IV bag holds pressure overnight. It's a slow, comprehensive, system-level test to see if the common rail can hold on to its massive pressure after shutdown, or if there's a hidden leak bleeding it off. To call a fuel system genuinely healthy, you absolutely need both, the fast reflex test and the slow system test. Of course, nothing lasts forever. Eventually, wear inside the injector is going to become too severe for even that amazing adaptive trim software to compensate for. When that happens, the valve closing time will fall completely outside the acceptable range, or the injector will just stop responding cleanly altogether. But don't worry, the ECM will instantly flag this with specific diagnostic codes. It tells the technician precisely which injector is acting erratic or failing long before it has the chance to cause any catastrophic engine damage. So we've seen how absolutely critical digital precision is to keeping the fuel system of this incredible machine running perfectly. But as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with a thought to really chew on. If skipping a simple 5-second digital upload can totally imbalance a massive 16-cylinder engine, what in the world do you think happens if the physical, mechanical timing of its valves is off by just a fraction of a single millimeter? Just think about that for a second. We are going to dive into the incredibly tight tolerances of engine timing and sensor precision in our very next explainer. It's going to be a good one, so you definitely won't want to miss it. Thanks for joining us today.